John Martin, your host of The Voice of Reason. And we're trying to be reasonable here. And I brought back the same players, Rob and Dr. Garbinian, to discuss what is reasonable. We'll start out with Dr. Garbinian with an article that you have.
Thank you, John. This article was in the Sunday Telegram two or three Sundays ago, and it was written by a woman by the name of Esther Cepeda. And the title of it is Learning is Fun is a Disservice. And she's a teacher. And she makes reference to a book entitled Learning Better, Mastering the Skills for Success in Life, Business, and School. The author is a man by the name of Ulrich Boser, B-O-S-E-R. And she starts off writing a little, scenario whereby if people were asked to rate on a scale from 0 to 10, how much you know about the mechanics of how a toilet flushes. Where 10 would be, I know everything, 0, that I know very little or nothing, or 5 or 6, moderately, fairly well. She claims that most people would answer in the 5 or 6 range, whether they knew it or not. And that contradicts, and that is in line with what this author of this book has done. He somehow, it doesn't describe his method, but he did some research about how people feel about themselves and how much they know. And he showed statistically that people tend to say or feel that they know more about something than they really do. And she brings that into the classroom because she has seen, I believe she teaches 4th and 5th grade people from the way she writes, although she doesn't explicitly say that. She finds that a lot of students of that age come in and they feel very, very confident about that they know virtually everything there is to know. And then when she goes to teach them something of academic credibility, something that takes time, something that is a multi-step academic process, they can't do it. And the author of this book is kind of like saying that this all stems from building self-esteem on false premises, so to speak. Students are made to feel good, but they really haven't done anything that really warrants
practical.
Right. Yeah. They don't. Let's say the award is given over something that is the achievement is really not all that significant. And I suppose it falls into what I understand that everybody gets a trophy philosophy, right? Or when they play games, there are no losers. They don't keep score. I've never been a witness to that, but this is what I hear. In any event, she claims that learning doesn't have to be fun, and the author of this book says the same thing, and that learning should be difficult. And this author of this book says that if learning isn't difficult, then whatever you're learning really doesn't have that much credibility to it. And you've got to sit down and essentially by repetition, maybe in some cases by rote, with understanding, by memorization, establish factual information in your mind. Once you do that, then your chances of being able to move on and do some credible problem solving or some logical thinking, developmental thinking, is greatly increased. And he says once you can do that level of thinking, that level of learning, then you should feel a sense of self-esteem. And I'd just like to add that from my observation in society in general, that people are not humble. People that have supposedly done some, I would say, quote, grand things, unquote, whatever that is, they feel as though that they have total control over the world. They're sitting on top of the heap. And from my standpoint, nobody is on the top of the heap because there's always someone better than you. Newton was one of the co-creators, co-discoverers of calculus, along with Leibniz, a German man. And they established calculus independent of each other in about the same time. And it's amazing how that worked out. The only differences that they had was their notations. But essentially, the basic fundamental development of the subject is the same, that the truth is the same. And there's a quote by him that when I read it, I really said, I shall never forget this. And he said, I have been able to see so far in the future because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. So basically, he was giving all the credit of his work to all of the mathematicians that preceded him. I thought that was a very, very humble statement. And I believe to be a learner, you have to go in with this sense of humility and with the sense that you are going to fail many, many times before you succeed, especially if you're trying to develop something brand new. A few minutes ago, I just showed you that little theorem dealing with numbers and on how one number would divide into another number. That, for me, came in my mind over a course of an hour. I just took two consecutive numbers, I was saying to you, and I just kept on doing different things and failing. My stack of paper that I had used and crumpled up started to get rather large. And then finally, I saw the truth of actually how that would work, and then I was able to go out and prove it. The point is that to do that, there has to be a lot of basic understanding, basic knowledge of things that people think are trivial, but they're not trivial. Because all these trivial ideas in any subject, you put together and then you'll come up with something that is, let's say, a little more magnificent, a little more significant. And then that goes on to something else. So the system just keeps on building. Now, mathematics works that way. All subject matter works that way. So I think we have to, as a society, be careful as to our search to always put flowers and medals on our lapels. I don't think we should do that at all. I think we should try to be humble, do the best we can, achieve something, maybe get some recognition for it, but don't glory in the recognition. You have to go on. And when I look at society today, I don't see that. It's, if I look at the football players, I'm not pick on the NFL, how the whole society makes a big, I'll call it a big deal, and a lot of notoriety. The Super Bowl, they won the Super Bowl. But essentially, what is it? It's nothing more than a game. And it's a contrived championship, right? I mean, it's just that someone said, this is the championship. What's the significance of it?
Well, the significance is there's so many marketing dollars going.
It's money.
Going after the audience, which is captivated, and that's also been perpetuated by the fact that there's gambling
Right.
on these games.
It's money.
There's a lot of money,
So the driving force is money.
and then if you look at the contracts, how crazy the money that these players are getting. Garofalo just got signed to some 5-year extension today for $137 million. Our backup, which we traded away,
Right.
is now making more than Brady.
But he's not gonna be the backup in the next team.
No, he's a starter over
He's
there.
the star.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I do like the fact that you brought in the calculus and the two mathematicians, how they came to the same conclusions at different parts of the world,
Right.
but they had the basic knowledge.
And they were
of
never
the-
in communication with each other.
But they had society's realms. Okay, they knew how to add, they knew how to
Oh,
do
yes.
the basics, and,
Right.
and it elevated and elevated,
Right.
and then somebody's eventually going to build on that.
Yeah, and they did. If there was no calculus, much of statistics doesn't exist. Much of statistics, there's so much that is built on the calculus. It just keeps on going on and on and on.
And I look at our space program, and we just saw Elon Musk blast off
Right.
a tremendous rocket where now we can save part of the rocket. A couple of them made it back down safely. Unfortunately, one of the rockets didn't.
Right.
And again, Musk is building upon what NASA had started.
Now, when that rocket comes down, did I see that film correctly? That the rocket essentially lands it lands itself. It comes right back into its original vertical
Yes,
position.
yeah, so it must have a GPS
That is amazing.
tracking to slowly come
Right.
and fight gravity
Right.
so it doesn't crash.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like we used to see in the science fiction movies of the 1950s, as I remember, the rocket landing and taking up in that vertical position. Something that we never thought would happen, but it's slowly coming about. But look at how the building takes place, it's step by step by step. And this has to be translated to our young people, that they have to be patient in their learning and not think they're going to receive a great accolade or a great reward for every step they take. To me, the reward is that satisfaction. I have learned this. I have conquered something I didn't know. Now on to something else.
Well, where you mentioned the plumbing issue, I really think that there's a whole generation out there that if you actually did give a toilet to and said, hey, install this new toilet with all the innards and
Right.
everything, they may know how to do it from book learning, but when it comes to the practicality of it,
The actual doing
are
it.
they going to be able to do it?
It's two different worlds. Absolutely, two different worlds.
So, and that's why I think a lot of people involved constantly on the cell phones, constantly on the computer, are not getting that practicality of actually, okay, I need another tool that works. So let me go to the toolbox, find the proper tool that's going to work on this nut or bolt, and open it.
Well, that's something else he makes reference to. He makes reference to the fact that a lot of people think that if you don't know something, just Google it. Just Google it. When maybe that piece of information should be in your mind. That should be part of your being. You just can't. Education cannot be just Googling, and I'm afraid we're going in that direction. There's nothing that's in their mind. So, the education is being, I guess, maybe redefined. That all you have to do is sit there and take a machine and push buttons and ask it questions, and it shows you the answer. and
Now
then-
you just talk to it,
right,
and the answer comes back.
right. You know, yeah, and
A friend of mine has a system that does that, and it bothers me because not too many years ago, you couldn't get a computer to translate all the language. And we give it a sentence, and then we scratch its head. What are they trying to say? The nuances and all that. And so now, they got them pretty brilliant. And now they're competing. Different phone companies now have different names for their question and answer person.
Oh, Alexa.
Alexa, something
Yes.
else.
Yeah.
Goes on. And I thought, well, that's kind of cute. But when I didn't have a computer when I was young, I used to read the dictionary. Just to keep turning pages and say, oh yeah, I'd like to know that word. Read the definition and go on to the next one. Or get these compound words and each piece try to figure out what they're doing with it. And I became a good student of the language because I kept my mind busy trying to learn from at least something that was right, the dictionary. And I wish I could learn a little bit more, but it just goes so far. They didn't even get it right. Dictionary didn't do that, but
dictionaries now are obsolete because now we have spell check.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can just right-click on a word and it gives you the definition if you didn't know it.
Right, exactly.
well, I found out spell check, it doesn't seem to spell very well. Maybe they're thinking in French or something. I don't know. Just sometimes you
It does
you
make
try to
errors.
get a word and
It does.
it's not in there.
It does make errors.
You have to have the first 5 or 6 letters correct to get the rest of the word.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But also, not only dictionaries are becoming obsolete, the encyclopedias.
Right. Well,
they
there's,
don't sell
there's the
those
Google.
anymore.
The
Yeah.
Google takes its place. But the sad part about it is people are walking away with nothing in their minds. And it's sad to me that young people with their minds are still growing and it's fertile ground that needs to be developed and used. It is not being used. So they reach a point in their life, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years old. I don't think they can really learn much at that time, because at their younger age, when they should have the fundamentals in their mind, they don't have it. By the time they reach 20, 30 years old, perhaps it's too late. And they're locking themselves out of a lot of different types of employment that would give them, let's say, a more secure economic future, or doing something that they really enjoy rather than some menial task. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing jobs that are menial tasks. I did it as a youngster, but I didn't want to do it for all my life. And there's nothing wrong with doing it all your life. If you're satisfied with it, that's wonderful, that's fine. But everyone is obviously different on that.
Well, you need to be well-rounded, I think, in the long run. This generation is being inhibited because of that. I mean, I know somebody who just comes home from work, goes in their room, and plays virtual computer games all night long. So that becomes their society of people that they know. So they don't really have outside contact with people. They can't look someone in the eye and hold a conversation. They're afraid of people because they don't normally talk to people, whether it's not over the computer. Yes, they yell at their computer. They probably throw their computers because of anger issues. And it's not a good, conducive environment to become well-rounded, because someday you're going to have to change a battery in a car. You're going to have to change a toilet, unless you're making $1 million a year. And you can hire somebody to do these, trivial things that really could only...
Those aren't trivial things. I wish I could change the tail. I really do. I would say my knowledge of that is maybe like a 0, at most a 1. Not even that. I'd be pushing it to be a 1. I will definitely admit, I don't know. I wish I did.
Well, I'd recommend to Google it. Watch it. Watch it first.
But I would have to actually do it.
Yeah.
And that's how you.
And then
really
the
learn.
first time you would do it, it would take probably 2 hours.
Well, I'd say 4 or
And
5.
then as
with a lot of water on the floor, probably.
progressively, you'll get faster at it if you need to do it again.
Right.
Okay, Rob, let's clean up the mess off the floor. You had an idea for a 5-minute talk. What was it, Rob?
Well, my topic tonight is giving a little recognition where recognition's due. I've been voting in my district now for 18 years that I've been in Shrewsbury, and my polling location has been the senior center. And I've never given it much thought. I've gone in, voted, headed out, just gone home. Never really gave much thought to the senior center itself until one day there was an ad in the paper. Dr. Claremont was giving away some glasses. And yeah, so I'm hitting my mid-50s, and I do need reading glasses now. So I went down there, talked to the doctor. Doctor didn't even bring up the glasses, which was kind of interesting right away, until I asked him at the end. He wanted to sit down and get to know me a little bit. He wanted to do my vitals. He wanted to do my blood pressure. Just a nice gentleman, and at the end, I said, hey, I'm really here just for the glasses. But then I went back a week or so later, because I had seen somebody that I knew coming out of the senior center that day, and they were holding, some muffins or something. So I guess I found out that they actually serve lunch in there.
Yeah, they do. Right.
So now I've visited a few times, sat at the table with a bunch of very nice people, got to know a bunch of these people, and have been interested in actually seeing what resources there are, because it seems like this senior center is something that I was never exposed to, one, because of the age issue, and now I found, in the mid-50s or so, you start to realize, hey, you might need a little community at some point. So now it's more like a little family community at this table that I go to and sit at, and you can have lunch there, and it's not only for seniors, although they do encourage seniors to come. So at about 11:30 every day, if you have the time, you can go down there and chat with everyone at the little table or so. There's 4 or 5 tables that become occupied. And I've been able to help a few people. I helped a guy with a flat tire the other day.
Right, I saw you.
I followed him to the gas station just to make sure he made it
Yeah.
there all right, slowly on the rim. Hopefully he wasn't going to hit any potholes because he drove on a flat tire. And now I talked to another woman who's a music teacher up there. And I told her I had a love of music when I was a kid growing up through school. Told her I was the teacher's pet, and now she wants me to come, and she plays the piano. So I want to see where my voice is now. Am I a bass, or am I a baritone? Am I a tenor? I want to find out through that, and maybe test my voice with her at some point. So she's been very nice, very helpful. I see some of my neighbors from my neighborhood that go there, and they talk about a lot of sports. There's a good conversation. They actually had a Super Bowl party down there, and they brought in pizza. Everyone watched on this gigantic screen in there. So I've been pleasantly surprised for what I've seen at the senior center, and I can't believe it's taken me 18 years to realize it's not just my voting poll.
It's a pretty well-kept secret for some reason. Even the people that, I know a few people that go there, and they say they don't feel that the senior center really is active enough, and that there's not more town usage of it, and have even town awareness, as in your case.
Yeah, I mean, to have a doctor on location, he'll help you out with some and give you directions, or maybe, I don't know if he can write prescriptions for this, that, or the other. Help you out with the glasses. There was a CPR class going on one day when I was in there. There's a bunch of seminars. I guess there's a men's club where they bring in speakers.
Every Thursday morning.
They bring in a speaker
From 9 till 10:30. They have a speaker every week.
I've
We've
been-
had some very good, nice speakers there.
Yeah, so
I know at 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon, they have like a discussion group. I go to that one. And we just talk about different things that are going on at the town, things going on nationally. It's good. And I find it's the same people. I'd say me about 12 to 15 people, sometimes less. But it's the same people that come. We thought that maybe even more people would come, but I don't know if people are aware of it. I wasn't aware of it until someone said, why don't you come to this group? And I wasn't aware of the men's club until I was walking one morning, one fellow coming out that was over, and he said, how come you come to the men's club? I said, what's the men's club? He told me. So I've been going there for well over a year now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, the resources that they have inside, I mean, there's a pool table, Scrabble,
Right.
the piano,
They even got a good TV.
computers, a very good TV, digital, a big screen on the wall.
It's very nicely appointed in there. It's very clean.
And I do want to point out that a lot of volunteers,
Right.
so they deserve a lot of the credit because they come in and help out, gives them a little something to do, care for some people, which was nice. And, I feel like I want to give back by helping people with small things, like a flat tire,
Right.
help somebody put a sink in or something like that. Somebody was mentioning it, I said, sure, I'll come down and help you with it.
And they also have 3 vans too that elderly people can be transported to, I don't know if they have shopping.
I think there's trips. I saw like a Foxwoods trip.
All right, they have that too.
different
Yes, they
different
do.
kinds
They
of
have a
trips.
professional tour guide company that they can join. I think it's out of Worcester, to come around and pick you up, buy tickets to go, all kind of places. And so it's a community that stretches out to other communities in the way of trying to interface with other persons, usually of your age. That's when I started at 65. I never even had a thought about going to the senior center until I was 65, and I had the time, and I went down there and had my first meal. And then in that group on Monday afternoons, there were times I used to lead it because the person in charge of it had sickness and surgeries and whatever, and they'd look at me and said, okay, I'll start it. So I've done a lot of stuff down there. Not exactly volunteer work, but bumping into people, they want to do something. A lot of them don't have the courage to do it for I don't know what reason, but they don't. In any case, I have one more topic I want to cover. Has to do with schools. There's a report at the federal government education department was discussing how they would try to encourage local districts to do more for 3- and 4-year-olds. And I thought that was kind of interesting because in my experience, with my son, who went to school when he was 3 and 4 and 5 and 5 and 6. Then I found out exactly what the schools could do. 3-year-olds don't sit in class. They don't have the ability to be in a group for group learning. So they get one-on-one with a teacher. And it's a specialist. I mean, the only people that get service like that are people that have special education problems. So you need speech, you need physical therapy, you know, there's different categories. And I remember my son had it in Illinois, and he went 1 day a week, just had speech, and for 9 months. They give you 9 months no matter where school year, and then he was trying to learn English. Obviously, he was from Russia, and so they were teaching him how to make O's by blowing cotton balls across a table. There's all kind of tricks. He wasn't learning very fast, but he was learning. The 4-year-olds have classes. We call it preschool because it's not in the school calendar. School starts in Shrewsbury at kindergarten. But we have it for special ed. And then the typical kids would marry up with the special ed kids and make a class. So it's like 8 to 7 ratio. But the kids that are typical have to be in a lottery, have to pay to come to half a day. Nothing's cheap in Shrewsbury. And then the special ed kids would be pulled out periodically for one-on-one discussions with teachers. And I can recall that it was awful hard to get in special ed here. Even when teachers says, give the test to get into special ed, they would ignore them. I thought that was kind of interesting. I can recall that people then being skipped over. I mean, they could be 3 and 4 and need help, but they can't go to school. They're not eligible to even go to school. If your parents are more aggressive, then you get in the lottery, and for the 4-year-olds to try to get them in preschool. Now, what can we do? Well, we don't have any more room. There are no more classrooms. There are no more offices to just get more people and put them in there, which is a topic I covered a few months ago, was like the high school needed some kind of training for vocation. Well, we don't have all of our 4-year-olds in school. Right across the city line, Worcester has all their 4-year-olds in school, and they pay for it. It's their policy.
The city pays for it?
Hmm?
The city pays for it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They don't have a lottery over there. So the 3-year-olds get in because they have special needs. Special education money comes from the federal government, actually, to pay for helping special ed students. But if you wanted to have all the 4-year-olds in, there's just another bill that we have to pay, and then you have to have classrooms to put it in. And he's throwing zeros at me. Good night, everybody.
That's a